So today on Tamagotchi Storytime, we're gonna go be reading a slightly greasy copy of Dune. Now, I really wish I could figure out a way to get nice little friends still in frame, but also at a more comfortable angle. It's a little bit early for their bedtime, but that's okay. They're gonna have a great time. I think they're gonna like it. I have a lot of confidence that these kids are gonna love Dune. So let me just make sure I got Twitch up. Twitch, I believe, is up. And let's post this to Rational. And let's begin reading. By the way, for those new to Tamagotchi Storytime and the extended Roxanne Tamagotchi lore, this little friend here, this is Whistles. Whistles is quite a happy little cheerful fellow. He's one of the newer ones, and he just loves having a nice little time, just sliming around. Next, we have Scrambles. He's another one that arrived on Sunday, and he's just a little eggy friend. He's quite nice. And finally, we have the oldest of the crew, but by no means the least valuable. They're all beautiful children. We have Boo Boo. So let's get that. Let's get the Adderall in frame, and let's begin. All right. Absolutely not. Shut the fuck up, Incel King 69. I'm not done. So we open with this quote. A beginning is the time for taking the most delicate care that the balances are correct. This every sister of the Bene Gesserit knows. To begin your study of the life of Muad'Dib, then take care that you first place him in this time. Born on the 57th year of Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV, take most special care that you locate Muad'Dib in his place, the planet Arrakis. Do not be deceived that he was born on Caladan and lived his first 15 years there. Arrakis, the planet known as Dune, is forever his place. That is from Manual of Muad'Dib by the Princess Erlon. They just usually open up every chapter with just a nice little bit. Anyway, just like a quote from like the extended lore of Dune. It's a very dense book. Like it's 700 odd pages. I'm not sure if the kids will enjoy it, but whatever. In the week before their departure to Arrakis, when the final scurrying about had reached a nearly unbearable frenzy, an old crone came to visit the mother of the boy, Paul. It was a warm night in Castle Caladan, and the ancient pile of stone that had served the Atreides family as home for 26 generations bore the cooled sweat feeling it had acquired before a change in the weather. The old woman was led in by the side door, by the side door down the vaulted passage, by Paul's room, and she was allowed a moment to peer at him, where he lay in his bed. By the half-light of the dispenser lamp, dimmed. Hold on a moment, gotta turn the page. Get those guys back in there. A suspension lamp hanging near the floor, the awakened boy could see a bulky female shape at his door, standing one step ahead of his mother. The old woman was a witch's shadow, hair like matted spiderwebs, hooded round darkness of features, eyes like glittering jewels. "Is he not small for his age, Jessica?" the old woman asked. By the way, we'll be doing a Skeletor voice. Anyway. Thank you, by the way, LBugs01, and I don't know what Angel Thump is, but I hope you're having a nice time as well. "Is he not small for his age, Jessica?" the old woman asked. Her voice wheezed and twanged like an untuned balisette. Paul's mother answered in her soft contralto. "The Atreides are known to start late getting their growth, your reverence." So I've heard, wheezed the old woman. I don't know why I'm going with the Skeletor voice, but, it's, I just think the kids are gonna like it more, "Yes, your reverence. He's awake and listening to us," said the old woman. "Sly little rascal." She chuckled. "But royalty is in need of slyness, and if he's really the Quetz Haderach, well..." Within the open shadows of his bed, Paul held his eyes open to mere slits. Two bird-bright ovals, the eyes of the old woman, seemed to expand and glow as they stared into his. "Sleep well, you sly little rascal," said the old woman. "Tomorrow you'll need all your faculties to meet my Gom Jabbar." And with that, she was gone, pushing his mother out and closing the door with a solid thump. The Bene Gesserit, if I'm remembering correctly, is actually the family what's the word? Of in which the protagonist Paul is a part of, who eventually becomes Muad'Dib. I am very new to the Dune lore. This is my first read of it, and yeah. Paul Lake, and as she was gone, pushing his mother out, closing the door with a solid thump. Paul lay awake wondering, what's a Gom Jabbar? In all the upset during this time of change, the old woman was the strangest thing he had seen. Your Reverence. And the way she called his mother Jessica, like some common serving wench instead of what she was, a Bene Gesserit lady, a duke's concubine, and mother of the ducal heir. Is Gom Jabbar something of Arrakis I must know before we go there? He wondered. He mouthed her strange words. Gom Jabbar! Kwisatz Haderach! There had been many things to learn. Arrakis would be a different place than Caladan, that Paul's mind whirled with a new knowledge. Arrakis, desert planet. Thufir Hawat, his father's master of assassins, had explained it. Their mortal enemies, the Harkonnens, had been on Arrakis 80 years, holding the planet in quasi-fief under the Chom company contract to mine the geriatric spice Moulan. I'm not sure if you're supposed to pronounce it with a French affectation, but I'm gonna pronounce it Moulan because that's fun. It's nice little kind of a groany mouthfeel. It's fun. Now the Harkonnens were leaving to be replaced by the House of Atreides in fief complete, an apparent victory for the Duke Leto. Yet Hawat had said this appearance contained the deadliest peril, for the Duke Leto was popular among the great houses of Landsraad. A popular man arouses the jealousy of the powerful, Hawat once said. Arrakis, Dune, desert planet. Fool GG, shut the fuck up. Actually, no. We're reading, Dune. We're reading Dune, a nice little book. Let's see. Paul fell asleep to the dream of an Arakkeen cavern. Silent people all around him moving in the dim light of the glow globes. It was solemn here and like a cathedral as he listened to a faint sound, the drip, drip, drip of water. Even while it remained in the dream, Paul knew he would remember it upon awakening. He always remembered the dreams that were prediction. The dream faded. Paul awoke to feel himself in the warmth of his bed, thinking. This world of Castle Caladan, when without play or companions his own age, perhaps did not deserve sadness and farewell. Dr. Rue, his teacher, had hinted that the far-fetched class system was not rigidly guarded on Arrakis. The planet sheltered people who lived at the desert's edge without Cade or Bashar to command them. Willow the Sand people called the Fremen, marked down on no census of the Imperial Regate. Arrakis! Dune! Desert planet! Yeah, I'm gonna just, every time I quote, I just want to do the Skeletor voice for any vague reference to the old lady. It fucking rules. Anyway. Paul sensed his own tensions, decided to practice one of the mind-body lessons his mother had taught him. 3 quick breaths triggered the response. He fell into a floating awareness, focusing of the consciousness. Aortal dilation. Jesus. Something follow me? Aortal dilation. Avoiding the unfocused mechanism of consciousness. To be conscious by choice. Blood enriched and swift flooding to overload regions. One does not obtain food safety freedom by instinct alone. Animal consciousness does not extend beyond the given moment, nor into idea that its victims may become extinct. The animal destroys and does not produce. Animal pleasures remain close to sensation levels and avoid the perceptual. The human requires a background grid through which to see his universe. Focused consciousness by choice. This forms your grid. Bodily integrity follows nerve blood flow according to the deepest awareness of cell needs. All things / cells / beings are impermanent. Strive for flow permanence within. Over and over and over within Paul's floating awareness, the lesson rolled. When dawn touched Paul's window sill with yellow light, he sensed it through closed eyelids, opened them, hearing then the renewed bustle and hurry in the castle, seeing the familiar patterned beams of his bedroom ceiling. The hall door opened and his mother peered in, hair like shaded bronze, held with a black ribbon at the crown, her oval face emotionless and green eyes staring solemnly. "Oh, you're awake," she said. "Did you sleep well?" "Yeah." He studied the tallness of her, saw the hint of tension in her shoulders, and she chose clothing for him from the closet racks. Another might have missed the tension, but she had trained him in the Bene Gesserit way, in the minutiae of observation. She turned, holding a semaphore jacket for him. It carried the red Archimedes hawk crest above the breast pocket. Let's see. Yeah, it is like a little bit of a older server, but I think it's fun. Anyway, I'm going to. I don't know what that is. Anyway, that's beside the point. The important thing is that I think the kids are enjoying it. Let me move that Adderall off of the off scrambles. Hey, I'm just gonna go. Is anyone going to object if I ban my Toroyokyo or Crabrevi? Cause like, I really don't want like server spam. Actually, you know what? I will. Fuck it. And let's see. Let's see. Crab. There we are. Perfect. Now, we're back to Dune. It just took me a moment. Haven't used this website in a hot minute. But, yeah. I hope that people enjoy this. Give me just a second to turn over to page we're at. Not Baron. Yes, you're awake, she said. Did you sleep well? Yes. He studied the tallness of her, saw the hint of tension in her shoulders as she chose clothing for him from the closet racks. Another might have missed the tension, and must have meant the tension. She had trained him in the Ben Gesserit way, in the minutiae of observation. She turned, holding a semi-formal jacket for him. It carried the red Archimedes hawk crest above the breast pocket. And to answer your question, I'm on the first chapter of the first book, Deluxe Morphine Condominium, and Flip Yap. More importantly, are the Tamagotchis enjoying this? Just based off of like a general facial reaction, it seems that oh yeah, they're loving it. They're having a great time. One of them wants to play, so I'm gonna handle that for a moment. But give me just a second. One of them needs to clean up. Anyway, just need to play with little scrambles. This is scrambles, by the way. My apologies for the hold up, by the way. I know that were really, really hoping for more, like, in-depth, no PVC, HDVD, HD. Listen, acronyms, McGee. I'm not gonna eat the Tamagotchi. I'm not gonna eat my son. I'm not gonna recreate that one painting of Saturn. Anyway, that should be enough. Anyway, back to where we were going. It was just above the breast pocket, right? Yeah, I think it was. "Hurry and dress," she said. "Reverend Mother is waiting." "I dreamed of her once," Paul said. "Who is she?" "She was my teacher at the Bene Gesserit school. Now she's the Emperor's truthsayer. And Paul," she hesitated, "you must tell her about your dreams." "I will. Is she the reason we got Arrakis?" We did not get Arrakis. Jessica flicked dust from a pair of trousers, hung them with the jacket on the dressing stand beside his bed. Don't keep Reverend Mother waiting. Paul sat up, hugged his knee. What's a Gom Jabbar? Again, the training she had given him exposed her almost invisible hesitation. A nervous betrayal he felt as fear. Jessica crossed the window, flung wide the draperies, stared across the river orchards toward Mount Tubai. You'll learn about the Gom Jabbar soon enough, she said. He heard the fear in her voice and wondered at it. Jessica spoke without turning. Reverend Mother is waiting in my morning room. Please hurry. We will not have some language use in the chat. That's not cricket. Give me a moment to find the mouse. It's on the floor. Let's see. Alright. My apologies for the curse words, but we will not. We are going to avoid using stuff such as like slurs of a lot of nature make me kind of uncomfortable, and I'd prefer if we just kind of kept it a little bit. And to answer the question, no, I have not seen Shrek in a couple of years now, but yeah. Anyway, let me just time out you, because you're being mean to me. Alright. Also, yeah, toxically don't use the word retarded. It's upset. Anyway, as I was saying, back to Phil. I will attempt to read. I've read a bit of Game of Thrones, but it's got some pretty uncomfortable content in it that I think Dune will handle a bit better. But yeah. Anyway, back to the book as it was. We're about to get to a really intense scene. It's like one of the more famous ones, wherein there's the whole there's the Gomjabar. You guys might have heard it. Where's the gore? There isn't gore because this is a fun time stream for funs. And we are currently on page 8 of the Ace Publishing Edition. I believe it was this year. We are currently on, it's not organized into chapters, but we are in the section after the first, quote, page break, just so you know. Anywho, the Reverend Mother, Gaius Helen Mohayam, sat in a tapestried chair, watching mother and son approach. Windows on each side of her overlooked the curving southern bend of the river, and the green farmlands of the Atreides family holding. But the Reverend Mother ignored the view. She was feeling her age this morning, more than a little petulant. She blamed it on space travel in association with that abominable spacing guild and its secretive ways. But here was a mission that required personal attention from Gesserit with the sight. Even the Padishah Emperor's truthsayer couldn't evade the responsibility when the duty call came. Damn that Jessica, the Reverend Mother thought. If only she had borne us a girl like she was ordered to do. Let's see. Jessica stopped 3 paces from the chair, dropped a small curtsy, a gentle flick of the left hand along her skirt. Paul gave the short bow his dancing master had taught, the one used when in doubt of another's station. The nuances of Paul's greeting were not lost on the Reverend Mother. She said, "He's a cautious one, Jessica." Jessica's hand went to Paul's shoulder, tightened there. For a heartbeat, fear pulsed through her palm. Then she had herself under control. Thus he had been taught, your reverence. What does she fear? Paul wondered. The old woman studied Paul in one Gestalten flicker, face oval like Jessica's, but strong bones, hair. The Duke's black, but with a brow line of a maternal grandfather who cannot be named, and that thin, disdainful nose, shape of directly staring green eyes, like the old Duke, the paternal grandfather, who is dead. Don't click any links in the chat, I don't like it. Give me a sec, fucking... Alright, my apologies for the hold up. I just really don't care for the amount of, spam in the chat. But I'm glad that you like the voice acting, everyone, and I'm sure my Tamagotchis enjoy it as well. Give me a moment, save stream. Alright. So, we begin once more. Let's see. What does she fear? Paul wondered. The old woman studied Paul in one gestalten flicker, face oval like Jessica's, but strong bones, hair. The Duke's black, but without the brow line of the maternal grandfather who cannot be named, and that thin, disdainful nose. Shape of directly staring green eyes, like the old Duke, the paternal grandfather, who is dead. Now there was a man who appreciated the power of bravura, even in death, the Reverend Mother thought. I haven't heard about the movie. I'm a bit disappointed it's not the, what's the word? There was a movie that was planned by, I believe, the guy who directed Holy Mountain, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to come to fruition. That being said, the new movie is probably going to be okay. Anywho, teaching is one thing, she said. The basic ingredient is another. We shall see. The old eyes darted a hard glance at Jessica. Leave us. I enjoin you to practice the meditation of peace. Jessica took her hand from Paul's shoulder. Your Reverence, Jessica, you know it must be done. Paul looked up at his mother, puzzled. Jessica straightened. Yes, of course. Paul looked back at the Reverend Mother. Politeness in his mother's obvious awe at the old woman argued caution. Yet he felt an angry apprehension at the fear he sensed radiating from his mother. Let's see. The Tamagotchis are not dead. I can confirm this. Here's a little glimpse at Scrambles. Alive and well. Over here we have Boo Boo. Boo Boo's just kicking it, having some fun. And down here we have Tamagotchi. We have Whistles. They're just having a little nap. Just getting some like relaxing reading done. Anywho, Paul! Jessica took a deep breath. This test you're about to receive, it's important to me. Test? He looked up at her. Remember that you're a Duke's son, Jessica said. She whistled and strode from the room in a dry swishing of skirt. The door closed solidly behind her. Oh shit, I meant Jessica should have been, that should have been the Jessica voice, not the Skeletor voice. Paul faced the old woman, holding anger in check. Does one dismiss the Lady Jessica as though she were a serving wench? A smile flickered on the corners of the wrinkled old mouth. The Lady Jessica was my serving wench, lad, for 14 years at school, she nodded. And a good one, too. Now you come here. The command whipped out at him. Paul found himself obeying before he could think about it. Using the voice on me, he thought. He stopped at her gesture, standing beside her knees. See this? She asked. From the folds of her gown, she lifted a green metal cube about 15 centimeters on a side. She turned it, and Paul saw that one side was open, black and oddly frightening. No light penetrated that open blackness. Put your right hand in the box, she said. Fear shot through Paul. He started to back away, but the old woman said, Is this how you obey your mother? He looked up with bird-bright eyes. Slowly feeling the compulsions and unable to inhibit them, Paul put his hand in the box. He felt first a scent of cold as the blackness closed around his hand, then slick metal against his fingers and prickling as though his hand were asleep. A predatory look filled the old woman's features. She lifted her right hand away from the box and poised the hand close to the side of Paul's neck. He saw a glint of metal there and started to turn toward it. Stop! She snapped. Using the voice again! He swung his attention back to her face. I hold at your neck the Gom Jabbar, she said. The Gom Jabbar, the high-handed enemy. It's a needle with a drop of poison on its tip. Don't pull away or you'll feel that poison. Paul tried to swallow in a dry throat. He could not take his attention away from the seamed old face, the glistening eyes, and the pale gums around the silvery metal teeth that flashed as she spoke. Let's see. A Duke's son must know about poisons, she said. It's the way of our times, eh? Musky to be poisoned in your drink. All must be poisoned in your food. The quick ones and the slow ones and the ones in between. Here's a new one for you, the gom jabbar. It kills only animals. Pride overcame Paul's fear. You dare suggest the Duke's son an animal? Let us say, I suggest you may be human, she said. Steady, I warn you not to try jerking away. I am old, but my hand can drive this needle into your neck before you escape me. Who are you? He whispered. How did you trick my mother into leaving me alone with you? Are you from the Harkonnens? The Harkonnens, bless us, no. Now be silent. A dry finger touched his neck, and he stilled the involuntary urge to leap away. Good, she said. You passed the first test. Now here's the rest of it. If you withdraw your hand from the box, you die. This is the only rule. Keep your hand in the box and live. Withdraw it and die. Paul took a deep breath and still trembling. If I call out, there'll be servants on you, and in seconds you will die. Servants will not pass your mother, who stands guard outside that door. Depend on it. Your mother survived this test. Now it's your turn. Be honored. We seldom administer this to men, children. Curiosity reduced Paul's fear to a manageable level. He heard truth in the old woman's voice, no denying it. If his mother stood guard out there, if this were truly a test, and whatever it was, he knew himself caught in it, trapped by that hand at his neck, the gom jabbar. He recalled the response from the litany against fear as his mother taught him, out of the Ben Gesserit rite. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me, and when I have gone past, I will turn my inner eye to see its path. When the fiend is gone, there is nothing. Only I will remain. He felt calmness return. Get on with it, old woman. Old woman, she snapped. You've courage, and that can't be denied. Well, we shall see, Sirrah. She bent close, lowered her voice almost to a whisper. You will feel a pain in this hand within the box. Pain. But withdraw the hand, and I'll touch your neck with my gom jabbar. A death so swift it's like the fall of a headsman's axe. Withdraw your hand, and the gom jabbar takes you. Understand? What's in the box? Pain! He felt an increased tingling in his hand, pressed his lips tightly together. How could this be a test? He wondered. The tingling became an itch. The old woman said, You've heard of animals chewing off a leg to escape a trap? There's an animal kind of trick. A human would remain in the trap, endure the pain, feigning death so he might kill the trapper and remove a threat to his kind. The itch became the faintest burning. Why are you doing this? He demanded. To determine if you're human. Be silent. Paul clenched his left hand into a fist as the burning sensation increased in the other hand. It mounted slowly, heat upon heat upon heat upon heat. He felt the fingernails of his free hands biting at the palm. He tried to flex the fingers in the burning hand, but he couldn't move them. It burns, he whispered. Silence! Pain throbbed up his arm. Sweat stood out in his forehead. Every fiber cried out to withdraw the hand from that burning pit. But the gom jabbar. Without turning his head, he tried to move his eyes to see that terrible needle poised beside his neck. He sensed that he was breathing in gas, tried to slow his breaths, but couldn't. Pain! His world emptied of everything except that hand, immersed in agony. The ancient faces staring away at him. The ancient faces inches away, staring at him. His lips were so dry that he had difficulty separating them. The burning! The burning! He thought he could feel the skin curling back on that agonized hand, the flesh crisping and dropping away, until only charred bones remained. It stopped! As though a switch had been turned off, the pain stopped. Paul felt his right arm trembling, felt sweat bathing his body. Enough, the old woman muttered. Cool wahad! No woman child ever substood that much! I must have wanted you to fail! She leaned back, withdrawing the gom jabbar from the side of his neck. Take your hand from this box, young human, and look at it! He fought down an aching shiver, stared at the lightless void where his hand seemed to remain of his own volition. Memory of pain inhibited every movement. Reason told him he would withdraw a blackened stump from that box. Do it! She snapped. He jerked the hand from the box, stared at it astonished. Not a mark, no sign of agony on the flesh. He held up his hand and turned it and flexed the fingers. Pain my nerve induction, she said. Can't go around maiming potential humans. There are those who'd give a pretty for the secret of this boss, though. She slipped it into the folds of her gown. But the pain, he said. Pain, she sniffed. A human can override any nerve in the body. Paul felt his left hand aching, uncurled the clenched fingers, looked at 4 bloody marks where fingernails had bitten his palm. He dropped the hand to his side, looked at the old woman. You did that to my mother once? Ever sift sand through a screen? The tangential slash of her question shocked his mind into higher awareness. Sand through a screen. He nodded. We Ben Gesserit sift people to find the humans. He lifted his right hand, willing the memory of the pain. That's all there is to it? Pain? I observed you in pain, lad. Pain's merely the axis of the test. Oh, shit. Dropped the book. I'm glad you're enjoying, the stream. We're running low. We're coming to an end of it. The chapter's almost over. Thank you, by the way, for the praise. I'm only pausing because I dropped the goddamn book. I observed you in pain, lad. Pain's merely the axis of the test. Your mother's told you about our ways of observing. I see signs of her teaching in you. Our test is crisis and observation. He heard the confirmation in her voice and said, It's truth. She stared at him. He senses truth. Could he be the one? Could he truly be the one? She extinguished the excitement, reminding herself. Hope clouds observation. You know when people believe what they say, she said. I know it. The harmonics of ability, confirmed by repeated tests, were in his voice. She had heard them. Perhaps you are the Kwisatz Haderach. Sit down, little brother, here at my feet. I prefer to stand. Your mother sat at my feet once. I'm not my mother. You hate us a little, eh? She looked toward the door, called out, Jessica! The door flew open and Jessica stood there, staring hard-eyed in the room. Hardness melted from her as she saw Paul. She managed a faint smile. Jessica, have you ever stopped hating me? The old woman asked. Oh, I both love and hate you, Jessica said. The hate, that's from pains I will never forget. The love, that's just the basic fact, the old woman said, but her voice was gentle. You may come in here now, but remain silent. Close that door and mind that no one interrupts us. Jessica stepped into the room, closed the door, and stood with her back to it. My son lives, she thought. My son lives and is human. I knew he was, but he lives. Now I can go on living. The door felt hard and real against her back. Everything in the room was immediate and pressing against her senses. My son lives. Paul looked at his mother. She told the truth. He wanted to get away alone and think this experience through, but he knew he could not leave until he was dismissed. The old woman had gained a power over him. They spoke truth. His mother I've studied with for what? Wait, did I just not hit shift for the past, chunk of time? If not, who cares? The Green Revolt took away a crutch, she said. It forced human minds to develop. Schools were starting to train human talents. Bene Gesserit schools? She nodded. We have two chief survivors of those ancient schools, the Bene Gesserit and the Spacing Guild. The guild, so we think, emphasizes almost pure mathematics. Bene Gesserit performs another function. Politics? Kul Wahad, the old woman said. She sent a hard glance at Jessica. I have not told him, your reverence, Jessica said. The Reverend Mother turned her attention to Paul. You did that on remarkably few clues, she said. Politics indeed. The original Bene Gesserit school was directed by those who saw the need of thread of continuity in human affairs. They saw there could be no such continuity without separating human stock from animal stock for breeding purposes. The old woman's words abruptly lost their special sharpness for Paul. He felt an offense for what his mind called the instinct for rightness. It wasn't that his Reverend Mother lied to him. She obviously believed what she said. It was something deeper, something tied to his terrible purpose. He said, "But my mother tells me there are many Bene Gesserit of the schools don't know their ancestry." "The genetic lines are always in our records," she said. "Your mother knows that she's either of Ben Gesserit descent or her stock was acceptable in itself." "Then why couldn't she know who her parents are?" "Some do, many don't. We might, for example, want to breed her to a close relative to set up a dominant in some genetic trait. We have many reasons." Again, Paul fent offense against rightness. He said, "You take a lot on yourselves." The Reverend Mother stared at him, wondering. Did I hear criticism in his voice? "We carry a heavy burden," she said. Paul felt himself coming more and more out of the shock of the test. He leveled a measuring stare at her, said, "You say maybe I'm the Kusat Haderach. What's that, a human Gob Jabbar?" "Paul," Jessica said, "you mustn't take that tone with." "I'll handle this, Jessica," the old woman said. "Now, lad, do you know about the Truth-Sayer drug?" "You take it to improve your ability to detect falsehoods," he said. "My mother told me." "Have you ever seen Truth Trance?" He shook his head. "No. The drug's dangerous," she said, "but it gives insight. When a truth-sayer is gifted the drug, she can look many places in her memory. In her body's memory, we look down many avenues of the past, but only feminine avenues." Her voice took on a note of sadness. "If there's a place where no truth-sayer can see, we are repelled by it, terrorized. It is said a man will come one day and find the gift of the drug in his inward eye. He will look where he cannot, into both feminine and masculine pasts." "Your Kusat Haderach?" "Yes, the one who can be many places at once. The Kibbutz Haderach. Many men had tried the drug so far. None have succeeded." "They tried and failed? All of them?" "Oh, no." She shook her head. "They tried and died." And with that, because my voice is hoarse, and that's the end of the first chapter, I hope you enjoyed our Dune stream. Be sure to, enjoy your time on this on Artifact streams. I know I figured it was a good idea for me to stream something wacky and kind of pointless, so I did. Anyway, be sure to